When you stop to fill up at the pump, do you ever wonder where all that money is going? Or how much is used to build the roads you drive on? When you buy a gallon of gasoline, part of the cost of that gallon is the gas tax. This consists of both a federal component and a state component. The federal tax is fixed at 18.4 cents per gallon, and the state tax varies from state to state, but works out to 21.2 cents per gallon on average. Indiana's state gas tax is 18 cents per gallon. For an average Indiana driver, this translates to about $110 federal and $108 state gas tax in a given year. Indiana also collects a sales tax of 7 cents per dollar on gasoline purchases. At a price of $3.25 per gallon, this works out to approximately $113 per year for the average driver. So, what happens with this money once it leaves your pocket? Let's take a look. The federal portion of gasoline taxes goes to the Highway Trust Fund, which consists of two primary accounts. 15.44 cents from every gallon is put into the highway account, while 2.86 cents goes to mass transit. The highway account is used to fund transportation projects across the U.S., and requirements exist so that each state receives a share of the federal funding. Because of these requirements, Indiana is a donor state. Indiana only receives back 91 cents for every federal gas tax dollar it sends to the highway account in Washington. Other states, including many in the Northeast and the West, receive far more than they pay into the highway account. Some get 2, 3, or even 4 times more. At the state level, the way in which state gas tax revenue is spent varies. While some states allow it to be used for non-transportation purposes, revenue is generally directed towards roads. This makes the gas tax a use tax as, in theory, those who drive a lot or have heavier vehicles will use more gas and thus are taxed in line with how much wear they put on the system. In Indiana, almost all of the $534 million in gas tax is used to fund state and local roads and bridges. However, remember the 7 cents per dollar Indiana sales tax on gas purchases mentioned earlier? At a pump price of $3.25 per gallon, the sales tax raises about $550 million per year, but only about $70 million of that money is used to improve our roads and bridges. The rest, or about $480 million per year, is used to fund general government operations. Now, let's look at what is a reasonable level of transportation spending based on assessments by the American Society of Civil Engineers. In their 2013 report card for America's infrastructure, these engineers gave U.S. roads a grade of D, or poor. They said we need to invest an additional $79 billion a year above current levels to significantly improve conditions and performance. The same engineers gave our nation's bridges a C+ grade and said we need to invest an additional $7.7 billion annually to repair our nation's aging bridges. Currently, the Federal Highway Trust Fund is in trouble. Revenues are not adequate to cover expenditures. In 2014, it is estimated that federal obligations will total $41 billion, with only $33 billion in revenue. These spending levels are still far less than is needed just to maintain the level of performance of our current transportation system. So why can't the gas tax keep up? A decrease in total travel by the driving public is one major reason for weakened gas tax revenues. This is caused by factors such as volatile fuel prices and a depressed economy. Revenues are also decreased by the presence of alternative fueled vehicles and increasingly fuel-efficient cars. This is compounded by the static nature of the gas tax, which is a fixed tax that doesn't change as gas prices fluctuate or as inflation impacts the purchasing power of the dollar. For example, the federal tax has stayed the same since it was raised to 18.4 cents in 1993, but its buying power has been reduced by 38.5%. Indiana's state tax of 18 cents per gallon was last raised in 2003. The buying power of the state tax today has been reduced by 22% since then. Transportation infrastructure is vital to the economy of the United States. In 2011 alone, $10.5 trillion of goods traveled on U.S. roadways, and $556 billion of that traveled on Indiana roads. Infrastructure investment has a long-term benefit by growing the network which transports our goods and moves our workforce, directly correlating to national economic growth. It also yields a short-term benefit by creating tens of thousands of American jobs that can't be outsourced. Under the current system, the funding to maintain our infrastructure is in serious shortfall. We've got to define our national and state priorities with the understanding that to keep our economy moving, we've got to invest in the assets that literally keep us moving.